We were all got tricked by Geek Akutami. After concluding Sukuna vs Gojo fight, I have come to the conclusion that Sukuna was always the better Jujutsu sorcerer since the very beginning. In almost all aspects of sorcery, Sukuna has always shown greater aptitude than Gojo. We were just intentionally distracted by the author and unintentionally misled by the cast because to them Gojo was indeed the strongest of the modern age that is. So join me today as for why Gojo has been lost since the very beginning of the fight. First, we are going to discuss the basic power scaling. Then we are going to get to the main idea. The first thing is Curse Energy Reserve, which is the electricity behind all the techniques and phenomena. We will use Yuta Okutsu as a medium for the comparison. As we all know, Yuta have one of the largest Curse Energy pool. Yuta have mentioned to Itadori that he have more Cursed Energy than Gojo Sweteru. He have almost twice as energy than Gojo. Although Gojo being possessing 6 eyes, it have helped him consume less energy for attacks, but it does not make Gojo Sweteru's energy unlimited. When facing Gojo, Sukuna have consumed all of his 20 fingers energy. By this time, Yuta is now saying that Sukuna possesses twice as much energy as him, which means Gojo Satoru have only 25% of total cursed energy compared to Sukuna. So in terms of raw volume of cursed energy, Sukuna have greater than Yuta Okutsu and Yuta poses greater than Gojo. Even after using reverse curse technique and domain expansion multiple times throughout the battle, he still had the reserves to summon Mahoraga and Ajito for the 3-on-1, which is JJK's specialty on Gojo. Although it is not confirmed, suspected that cursed energy reserves and outputs are directly power all of the Shikigami's actions. So all of Mahoraga and Ajito attacks drain from Sukuna's cursed energy. We also have to take this into consideration because for Megumi to summon Mahoraga, it completely drained his cursed energy. And it is still not clear how much amount of cursed energy Sukuna have left. Let's move on to their cursed energy output. Simply put, both Sukuna and Gojo have the output to go head to head on to each other. What matter is the final blow of both of them. And in that, Gojo outputs was not up to stuff. He was not able to kill Sukuna with his final hollow purple. Even with the black flesh, even with the chants, the output from hollow purple could not finish Sukuna. When Gojo failed to kill Sukuna in that moment, he had already lost. In fact, he was already dead. So we don't need to see the actual killing. That was the last chance Gojo Satoru have. It was better to start the chapter with the calmer goodbye rather than the gory one. So also in cursed energy output, Sukuna have more than Gojo Satoru. Now we will get to the main part, that is the cursed technique, its application. And by the application I mean how it is applied in the combat. First we will discuss about infinity, and the first attack is the lapse blue. Lapse blue attract the things to a point in space. Joe uses is by the blue balls in the combat, and he also used reverse curse technique attack red. In red, it repels the space at a point, and the hollow purple, which is mixture of red and blue. By using his technique application really well, he has been feared in the modern era and shifted the balance of the world. And beside this, Gojo Satoru also teleport, also has domain expansion. One thing I would also like to ask you the viewers is the neutral limitless barrier. Does it create new space or the attacks are just slowed down? Things approaching Gojo are only slow to the point that it looks like it stopped. They aren't actually stopped. It's just that there has never been anyone who could even last long enough to try and breach the infinity till the Sukuna. One thing Gojo doesn't do is change the variables in the technique itself. He changes the parameters only in how he uses them. It was only during the battle with Sukuna that he started to modify his technique. Blue and red that could linger on the field, they had the time of effect increased. A change in the technique and not just its application, and then extremely build purple. This shows that Gojo still had things to learn, things even he still had to master about the limitless technique. But for Sukuna, it's different. Since the beginning, we know what cleave and dismantle could do. Dismantle could cut the living, the curse, and the inanimate, that is non-living things. For everyday use, and the amount of cautionary Sukuna can pack it with it, it make him devastating. Cleave could adjust itself to cut anything, regardless of toughness. There we see the key to Sukuna's victory. Built within his technique was the function to allow for modifications and adjustments, not just for curse energy boosting, but variable. This technique was flexible from the get-go, although it was not necessary because through Sukuna cursed energy reserve, it was able to cut through many things. Although it was up to Sukuna whether to use dismantle or the cleave, which we readers could hardly distinguish because it's not like red or blue. More importantly, it was a trial and error approach. Sukuna needed to keep cleaving a target for it to adjust and cut through. first tried to cleave Ryu but couldn't go all the way through. So cleave adjusted itself and went clean through the second time. Farewell Pompadour. What Malevolent Shrine improves on is the time between cleaves is drastically shortened, which means cleave gets more chances to adjust time it takes to get the clean cut. Sukuna just needed to know what to cut. He could then apply his technique accordingly. But changing an innate technique is so difficult, it's bordering impossible. But these two guys have already done the impossible. Multiple times refreshing the domain's cooldown, domain amplification while using innate technique. All the rules which were established before all got broken. What's one more rule to break? Once again here we see a difference in scale, one that was right in front of us but we just didn't notice it. Gojo was still learning about his technique whereas Sukuna had already perfected his. Now we move to their domains. It is said that the art of domain expansion is the pinnacle of Jujutsu sorcery. It is an expression of cursed technique mastery, a vast pool of cursed energy, a deeper understanding of Jujutsu, and the willingness to push your boundaries. It is the highest peak none but a few have ever reached, and even here there are levels. We got to see the first instance of Sukuna's domain expansion in the Cursed Worm arc. There we saw Sukuna's mastery of Jujutsu sorcery. We just didn't know how great it was. Then we were introduced to Gojo's Unlimited Void. First we were surprised by the might of Unlimited Void when we saw it overwhelm Jogo's coffin of the Iron Mountain, and we were shown why everyone feared it. This was the pinnacle move of the strongest after all. When Sukuna first summoned the shrine, all it did was cut the finger bearer into 5 pieces. So it seemed very simple in concept. Just cut the target, that's all. Nothing special, right? But therein lies the deception, the misdirection. We learned later on that a domain without its barrier is a miracle, a true bona fide wonder of the Jujutsu world. Something even one of the greatest barrier user in all of Japan's history, Tengen, claims is a feat, considering any who wield it a peer or even superior in the field of barriers techniques. Throughout the entire series so far, we have seen only 2 sorcerers with a barrierless technique. Both were 1000 years old. This represents a separation of mastery even among the elite. There in the light of the day, another difference in the scale of mastery. Sukuna flexed on Gojo before our eyes and we were none the wiser. We were all got distracted by those pearly blue eyes in the beautiful infinite void. Although both of them were able to change their domain barrier conditions head to head on, Sukuna have mastery in domains, which is the peak Jujutsu sorcery. Now we have come to the most important point, the perception. And we all know who is going to win this. Although Sukuna does not have the 6 eyes, he has something far greater, a powerful awareness of the soul. And why do you think soul is more important than the 6 eyes? Because when Kenjaku ambushed Gojo, Gojo said his 6 eyes is lying. His soul know the answer. Hence we can say in terms of understanding, the awareness of the soul reaches one level deeper than the 6 eyes can offer. The 6 eyes can be fooled, but the soul can't. 6 eyes can see cursed energy and techniques, but Sukuna understands the soul and everything that entails. Like during the beginning, when Sukuna asked to Megumi, "Why did you run away?" This was due to his awareness of the soul, because cursed techniques and soul are connected. The cursed energy comes from human emotions and feelings, which is a part of the soul, and the one who is proclaiming that Sukuna have the greatest soul is, yes, the being who has speciality in soul. That is Mahito. Mahito called Sukuna's soul powerful. So powerful that Sukuna could damage Mahito from his innate domain. That same Mahito who have grown exponentially throughout the series. Who has the master perception of the soul himself. So Sukuna damaged the same Mahito with only 3 fingers worth. The major example of the perception is that when Mahoraga used the cleave to bypass the infinity, Sukuna understand and adapt the attack from Mahoraga, whereas Gojo couldn't, which has led to his defeat. That's why the awareness of the soul is the core of Jujutsu, and Sukuna excels in it by far. Gojo had no chance from the get-go. All Sukuna needed was time, time to learn, time to understand, and time to adjust his game plan, and ultimately kill Gojo. That's why Gojo said that Sukuna was going to beat him regardless of the 10 shadows. This was post-life Gojo was now saw, and maybe even during his fight that Sukuna had him on a countdown, Mahoraga only sped up the clock. This was the difference between the self-proclaimed Honored One and the narrator announced the Honored One. So hope you guys have enjoyed my first video. This video have taken quite of time for finding the right images. Subscribe to my channel for more contents. And thank you for watching.